श्री राधा विनोद बिहारी जू की जय। श्री गोविंद गोपीनाथ मदन मोहन जू की जय। नितिल विष्णु विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शतश्मत श्रील भक्तिवेदांत नारायण गोसाई महाराज श्रील गुरुदेव की जय। नितिल विष्णु विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शतश्मत श्रील भक्तिवेदांत वामन गोसाई महाराज की जय। नितिल विष्णु विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शतश्मत श्रील भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शतश्मत श्रील भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोसाई महाराज की जय। नितिल विष्णु विष्णुपाद अष्टोत्तर शतश्मत श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोसाई प्रभुपाद की जय। नितिल विष्णु महाभागवत श्रील गोरक्षदास बाबाजी महाराज की जय। नितिल विष्णु श्रील सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। नितिल विष्णु वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्रील जगन्नाथ दास बाबाजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूप गौरी गुरु वर्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल भट्टदास रघुनाथ शार गोसाई प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गो प्रसाद वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदाते गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्यामा कुंड की जय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योगमाया की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। ग्रंथराज श्रीमद्-भागवतम की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपदाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्त नारायणति नामिने। नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने। वंशकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरत्विषे नमः। गुरुवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकाय तदालय कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तरभक्ताय नमो नमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तम् अनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुस्तं सर्वभूत हृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। शृण्वतां स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तन हृदन्तस्थो ह्यः भद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सतम्। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। तवैवास्मि न जीवामि त्वया विना इति विज्ञाय राधे त्वां नयमां चरणान्तिकम्। भक्त्या विहीन अपराधलक्षय क्षिप्ताष्टकामादितरङ्गमध्ये कृपामयि त्वं शरणं प्रपन्ना वृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दम्। भज श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्तवृन्द। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। Let's see all who's there now. Dandavat pranams Champak Didi and Gargaraji. Dandavat pranams Indira Mataji and Raseshwari Mataji. Yeah, I am early today. I was just waiting for a while and I got impatient because I'm just in a car right now. We're driving to Gaurasundar Prabhu's house in Los Angeles. We're in Laguna right now. Yeah, and I didn't want to sit in the car too long reading, and so, yeah. All right, so let's begin. I'm grateful to Seshri Mataji that you're here also, that you've been joining in all these readings, participating. All right, so what did we read from? Okay, so yesterday we finished up reading about the duties of a Grahasta. A Grahasta should offer the results of one's work to Krishna and be detached, devoted, neutral, simple, responsible, and maintain others as well. And then we read about the times and places suitable for religious activities. Kal, the auspicious times to perform religious acts, and Dish, places suitable for spiritual activities. And now today, we'll be reading about the importance of worshipping the deity, the brāhmaṇas, and the Achyuta. Right? Is that? I think we're starting with 34. I think. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. All right. So instead of doing a whole recap, I'm just going to jump right into it. Yeah. Okay, we can read this end part. This is what we were reading. So, day before yesterday, we ended with, by deliberation, one must give up attraction to his wife's insignificant body, which will be ultimately transformed into worms if buried, stool if disposed, or ashes if burnt. What value is the wife in comparison to the all-pervading Lord? One should be satisfied with eating prasad or with performing the panchasuna, the 5 kinds of sacrifices. By this, one can give up material attachment and be fixed in the position of a Mahatma. One should worship the demigods, humans, forefathers, living entities, and oneself by the wealth acquired through one's occupation. Thus, one is able to worship the Supreme Lord. When one has wealth for gathering all items, one must perform sacrifice according to Shastric rules and thus worship the Supreme Lord. And there's a note here. Ultimately, all the scriptures are meant to satisfy the Supreme Lord. See Bhagavad Gita 3.9. It was possible in Treta Yuga to perform costly yagyas. The same goal can be achieved in Kali Yuga by performing Sankirtan Yagya, or chanting the holy names of the Lord. Link to the next verse. One should also not be too attached to performing sacrifices. Worshipping the brāhmaṇas is a greater way of worshipping the Supreme Lord. Although the Supreme Lord Kṛṣṇa enjoys offerings in sacrificial fire, he is more satisfied when nice food is offered to him through the mouths of the brāhmaṇas. Therefore, first offer prasad unto the brāhmaṇas and the demigods, and then distribute prasad to other living entities. And then we are at the times and places suitable for religious activities. And then this, okay. So the auspicious times to perform the religious acts. A rich Brahmin must offer oblations to the forefathers. I'm going to skip this part because, it talks all about the details of Shraddha ceremony. One to perform Shraddha. And the benefits of all these auspicious times is that it brings success in one's short duration of life, yields a permanently beneficial result, and one flourishes in fruitive activities. And in Dish, all the religious performances are well executed at places where Vaishnavas are available, where there is the deity of the Supreme Lord is worshipped, where learned Brahmins observe Vedic principles by austerity, education, and mercy, and where sacred rivers flow. Anything spiritual done there is certainly very effective. Then holy places meant for spiritual advancement are sacred lakes like Pushkar, places where devotees live like Kurukshetra, Gaya, Prayag, Ulahashrama, Naimisharanya, Sivas, Dwarka, Varanasi, Mathura, Badarikashram, Bindu Sarovar, etc. Places where Ram and Sita stayed, Chitrakoot, hilly tracts of Mahindra and Malaya, and places outside India where Radha Krishna deities are worshipped. One who desires spiritual advancement may visit these holy places. Acts performed in these places give 1,000 times more result than at other places. Now, link to the next section. Whenever we perform some religious act, we must do it according to the time, the kal, place, dish, and the person, patra. Narad Muni has described about kal and dish so far. Now, he will describe to whom everything must be offered. So first he explains about when we should do according to time and place, and now he's going to explain the person, to whom everything must be offered. Importance of worshipping Kṛṣṇa, his deity, and kal, dish, and now patra. Alright, so let's go there. Kṛṣṇa is the best recipient of all offerings. Patram tvatra niruktam vai kavibi patravid harir ekaika urvisha yanmayan vai characharam. Let me just make sure everything's internet's still working. Oh. Okay, looks like it's working. Haribo Manjari Didi. No problems for being late. Wondering what Prajumna Prabhu is though. Alright. O King of the Earth, it has been decided by expert learned scholars that only the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kṛṣṇa, in whom all that is moving or non-moving within this universe is resting, and from whom everything is coming, is the best person to whom everything must be given. Learned scholars say that only the Supreme Lord, in whom every Kṛṣṇa, is the best person to whom everything must be given. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Also, where's Madhavi Didi? Oh, there she is. Dandavat Pranams, Madhavi Didi. Okay, so purport by Srila Prabhupada. Whenever we perform some religious act in terms of dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, we must perform it according to the time, place, and person, kala, desha, and patra. Narad Muni has already described the desha, the place, and kala, time. The kala has been described in verses 20 through 24, beginning with the words Ayane Vishuve Kuryad Yati Pate Dina Shaye. And the places giving charity or performing ritualistic ceremonies have been described in verses 30 through 33, beginning with Sarangsi Pushkara Dini Kshetranya Yarhat Shritanda. Now, to whom everything must be given is decided in verse. Urvisha Tanmayam Vacharacharam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kṛṣṇa, is of everything, and therefore he is Patra, person to whom. In Bhagavad Gita 5.29 it is said, Bhoktaram Yatapasam Sarva Maheshwaram Suhridam Sarvabhutanam Gyatva Mam Shatamrichati. If one wants to enjoy real peace and prosperity, he should give everything to Kṛṣṇa, who is the real enjoyer, the real friend, and real proprietor. It is therefore said, Yatatoror mula nishechanena tripyanti tat skanda bhujo pashakha prano paharachcha yatendriyanam tataiva sarvarhanam achyuteja. By worshipping or satisfying Achyuta, the Supreme Personality of Godhead Kṛṣṇa, one can satisfy everyone, just as one can water the branches, leaves, and flowers of a tree simply by watering its root, or as one satisfies all the senses of the body by giving food to the stomach. Therefore, a devotee simply offers everything to the Supreme Personality of Godhead to receive the best results of charity, religious performances, sense gratification, and even liberation. dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Devarsyarhatsuvai satsu tatra brahmatmajadishu rajanyad agrapujayam mata patra tayachuta. O King Yudhishthira, the demigods, many great sages, and saints, including even the 4 sons of Lord Brahma, and I myself, were present at your Rajasurya sacrificial ceremony. But when there was a question of who should be the first person worshipped, everyone decided upon Lord Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Person. Purport. This is a reference to the Rajasurya sacrifice performed by Maharaj Yudhishthira. In that meeting, there was a great turmoil over selecting the best person to be worshipped first. Everyone decided to worship Sri Krishna. The only protests came from Shishupal, and because of his vehement opposition, he was killed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Jiva Rashi Virakirna Ankoshanggripo Mahan Danulatwad Achuteja Sarva Jivatmatarpanam. The entire universe, which is full of living entities, is like a tree whose root is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Achyuta, Krishna. Therefore, simply by worshipping Lord Krishna, one can worship all living entities. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 10.8, the Lord says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo mata sarvam pravartate itti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samandita. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service, worship me with all their hearts. People are very much anxious to give service to other living entities, especially to the poor. But although they have manufactured many ways to give such help, actually they are expert in killing the entities. This kind of service or mercy is not recommended in the Vedic wisdom. As stated in the previous verse, it has been decided, niruktam, by expert saintly persons, that Krishna is the root of everything, and that worshipping Krishna is worshipping everyone, just as supplying water to the root of a tree means satisfying all of its branches and twigs. Another point is that this universe is full of living entities from top to bottom on every planet. Jiva Rashibir Akira. Modern scientists and so-called scholars think that there are no living entities on planets other than this one. Recently, they have said that they have gone to the moon, but did not find any living entities there. But Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam and the other Vedic literatures do not agree with this foolish conception. There are living entities everywhere, not only one or two, Rashibi, many millions of living entities. Even on the sun there are living entities, although it is a fiery planet. The chief living entity on the sun is called Vivasvan. Imam Vivasvate Yogam Proktavam Aham Avyayam. It's Bhagavad Gita 4.1. All the different planets are filled with different types of living entities according to different living conditions. To suggest that only this planet is filled with living entities and that others are vacant is foolish. This betrays a lack of real knowledge. Yeah, and even if we go to other planets, then we don't have the eyes to see beings on other planets, because there's creatures on all different kinds of subtle platforms, and like we have eyes to see creatures on this planet. We have like Earth bodies, and we can see like that, right?
Water bodies.
We have water bodies. Water body. Yeah. Puranyanena shishtani nritirya grishi devata shete jivena rupena purishu purusho yaso. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has created many residential places, like the bodies of human beings, animals, birds, saints, and demigods. In all of these innumerable bodily forms, the Lord resides with the living being as Paramatma. Thus, he is known as the Purusha Avatar. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 18:61, it is said, Ishvara sarva bhutanam hridesherjuna tishtati brahmayam sarva bhutani yantra rudrani mayaya. The Supreme Lord is situated in everyone's heart, O Arjuna, and is directing the wanderings of all living entities, who are seated as on a machine made of the material energy. The living entity, who is part and parcel of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, exists on the mercy of the Lord, who is always with him in any form of body. The living entity desires a particular type of material enjoyment, and thus the Lord supplies him with a body which is like a machine. Just to keep him alive in that body, the Lord remains with him as the Purusha, Kshiradakshai Vishnu. This is also confirmed in Brahma Samhita 535. Eko pyasau rachaitum jagaranda kotim yachaktirasti jagaranda yaranta andantarasta paramanu chayantarastam govindamari purusham tamaham bhajami. I worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Govinda, who enters the existence of every universe and every atom by one of his plenary portions, and thus manifests his infinite energy throughout the material creation. The living entity, being part and parcel of the Lord, is known as Jiva. The Supreme Lord, Purush, remains with the Jiva to enable him to enjoy material facilities. Teshveva Bhagavan Rajams Taratamyena Vartate Tasmat Patram Hi Purusho Yavanatma Niteyate. O King Yudhishthir, the supersoul in every body gives intelligence to the individual soul according to his capacity for understanding. Therefore, the supersoul is the chief within the body. The supersoul is manifested to the individual soul according to the individual's comparative development of knowledge, austerity, penance, and so on. Purport. In Bhagavad Gita 15:15, it is said, Mata smritir gyanam apohanam cha. The Supreme Personality of Godhead in his localized aspect gives intelligence to the individual soul as far as he is able to grasp it. Therefore, we find the individual soul in different high and low positions. A living entity with the body of a bird or beast cannot take instructions from the Supreme Soul as adequately as an advanced human being. Thus, there are gradations of forms. In human society, the perfect Brahman is to be the most advanced in spiritual consciousness, and further advanced than the Brahman is the Vaishnav. Therefore, the best persons are the Vaishnavas and Vishnu. When charity is to be given, one should take instruction from Bhagavad Gita 17:20. Tattavyam itiyardanam diyate nu pakarine deshe kale cha patre cha tadhanam satvikam smritam. That gift which is given out of duty at the proper time and place to a worthy person, and without expectation of return, is considered to be charity in the mode of goodness. One should give charity to the Brahmins and Vaishnavas, for thus the Supreme Personality of Godhead will be worshipped. In this connection, Srila Madhvacharya comments, Brahmadi stavaranteshu na vishesho hare kvachit vyakti matra visheshena taratamyam vadanti cha. Beginning from Brahma down to the ant, everyone is conducted by the Supersoul, Ishvara Sarvabhutanam Hridesharjuna Tishtati. But because of a particular person's advancement in spiritual consciousness, he is considered to be important. Therefore, the Brahman Vaishnava is important, and above all, the Supersoul, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is the most important personality. Drishtva shamito nrinam avagyanat matam nripa tretadishu harer archa kriyayai kavibi krita. My dear king, when great sages and saintly persons saw mutually disrespectful dealings at the beginning of Treta Yuga, deity worship in the temple was introduced with all paraphernalia. Purport. As it is said in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 12.3.52, Krite yadyayato vishnum tritayam yadato makai dvapare paricharyayam kalotad hari kirtanat. Whatever result one obtained in setting on Vishnu, in Treta Yuga by performing sacrifices, and in Dwapara Yuga by perspiring the Lord's lotus feet, one can also obtain in Kali Yuga simply by chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. In Satyuga, every person was spiritually advanced, and there was no envy between great personalities. Gradually, however, because of the material contamination with the advance of the ages, disrespectful dealings appeared even amongst Brahman and Vaishnavas. Actually, an advanced Vaishnava is to be respected more than Vishnu, as stated in Dharma Purana, Aradhananam Sarvesham Vishnur Aradhanam Param. Of all kinds of worship, worship of Vishnu is the best. Tasmat Paratarang Devi Tadiyan Samarchanam. And recommended more than worship of Vishnu is worship of the Vaishnava. Formerly, all activities were performed in connection with Vishnu, but after Satya Yuga, there were symptoms of disrespectful dealings among Vaishnavas. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has said that a Vaishnava is he who has helped others become Vaishnavas. An example of one who has converted many others into Vaishnavas is Narada Muni. A powerful Vaishnava who has converted others into Vaishnavas is to be worshipped, but because of material contamination, sometimes such an exalted Vaishnava is disrespected by other minor Vaishnavas. When great saintly persons saw this contamination, they introduced worship of the deity in the temple. This began in Treta Yuga and was especially prominent in Dwapar Yuga, Dwapare Paricharyayam. But in Kali Yuga, worship of the deity is being neglected. Therefore, chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra is more powerful than deity worship. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu set a practical example in that he did not establish any temples or deities, but he profusely introduced the Sankirtan movement. Therefore, Krishna-conscious preachers should give more stress to the Sankirtan movement, especially by distributing transcendental literature more and more. This helps the Sankirtan movement. Whenever there is a possibility to worship the deity, we may establish many centers, but generally, we should give more stress to the distribution of transcendental literature, for this will be more effective in converting people to Krishna consciousness. It is said in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 11.2.47, Archayam eva haraye pujam ya shadhaye hate na tar bhakteshu chanyeshu sa bhakta prakrita smritaha. A person who is very faithfully engaged in the worship of the deity in the temple, but does not know how to behave toward devotees or people in general, is called a prakrita bhakta, or a Kṛṣṇa adhikari. A prakrita devotee, or a neophyte devotee, is still on the material platform. He certainly engages in worshipping the deity, but he cannot appreciate the activities of a pure devotee. It has actually been seen that even an authorized devotee who is engaged in the service of the Lord by preaching the mission of Krishna consciousness is sometimes criticized by neophyte devotees. Such neophytes are described by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Sarva Prani Samamana Samarthanam Avagya Spardadinam Matam Tu Bhagavat Pratimaiva Patram Ityaha. For those who cannot properly appreciate the activities of authorized devotees, deity worship only way for spiritual advancement. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita Antilila 7.11, it is clearly said, Krishna Shakti Vina Nahe Tar Pravartan. Without being authorized by Krishna, one cannot preach the holy name of the Lord throughout the entire world. Nevertheless, a devotee who does so is criticized by neophyte devotees, by Kṛṣṇa adhikaris, who are in the lower stages of devotional service. For them, deity worship is strongly recommended. Tator chayam harim kechit Saṅśradhaya saparyaya upasata upastapi nartada purusha dvisham. Sometimes, a neophyte devotee offers all the paraphernalia for worshipping the Lord, and he factually worships the Lord as the deity. But, because he is envious of the authorized devotees of Lord Vishnu, the Lord is never satisfied with his devotional service. Purport. Deity worship is especially meant for purifying the neophyte devotees. Actually, however, preaching is more important. In Bhagavad Gita 18.69, it is said, Nacha tasman manusheshu kaschin me priyakritama. If one wants to be recognized by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he must preach the glories of the Lord. One who worships the deity must therefore be extremely respectful to preachers. Otherwise, simply worshipping the deity will keep one in a lower stage of devotion. Purusheshvapi Rajendra Suatram Brahmanam Vido Tapasa Vidyaya Tushtya Tatte Vedam Haristanu. My dear king, of all persons, a qualified Brahman must be accepted as the best within this material world, because such a Brahman, by practicing austerity, Vedic becomes the counterpart of the Supreme Personality of God. Purport. In the Vedas, we learn that the personality of Godhead is a supreme person. Every living entity is an individual person, and the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Kṛṣṇa, is a supreme person. A Brahman who is well versed in Vedic knowledge and fully conversant in transcendental matters becomes a representative of the personality of Godhead, and therefore, one should worship such a Brahman. A Vaishnava is superior to a Brahman, whereas a Brahman knows that he is Brahman. No matter, a Vaishnava knows that he is not only Brahman, but also an eternal servant of the Supreme Brahman. Therefore, worship of a Vaishnava is superior to worship of the deity in the temple. Vishwanath Thakur says, Shakshat Haritena Samasta Shashte. All the spiritual master who is the best, and he is considered to be as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. It does not mean, however, although a Brahman or a Vaishnava is worth as being as good as the Supremacy of Godhead, the devotee always remains a faithful servant of the Lord and never tries to enjoy the prestige that might accrue to him from being the Supreme Lord's representative. Nanvasya Brahmana Rajan Krishnasya Jagaratmana Punanta Padarajasa Trilokin Devatang Mahat. My dear King Yudhishthira, the Brahmins, especially those engaged in preaching the glories of the Lord throughout the entire world, are recognized and worshipped by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the heart and soul of all creation. The Brahmins, by their preaching, sanctify the three worlds with the dust of their lotus feet, and that are worshipable even for Kṛṣṇa. Purport. As admitted by Lord Kṛṣṇa in Bhagavad Gita 1869, Na chastasman manusheshu kaśyan me priyakrit. The Brahmins preach the cult of Kṛṣṇa consciousness all around the world. And therefore, Kṛṣṇa, the Lord also recognizes them as worshipable. The relationship is reciprocal. The Brahmins want to worship Kṛṣṇa. Kṛṣṇa wants to worship the Brahmins. In conclusion, therefore, the Brahmins and Vaishnavas who are engaged in preaching the glories of the Lord must be worshipped by religionists, philosophers, and people in general. At the Rajasuya Yajna of Maharaj Yudhishthira, many hundreds of thousands of Brahmins were present, and yet Kṛṣṇa was selected to be worshipped first. Therefore, Kṛṣṇa is always the supreme person, but by his causeless mercy, he recognizes the Brahmins as dearmost to him. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purports of the 7th canto, 14th chapter of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, entitled Ideal Family Life. Now we're beginning chapter 15, Instructions for Civilized Human Beings. Let me just go to chapter 15. This is the last chapter of the 7th canto. And what verse are we reading up to? Let me just check really quick. We're reading up to verse 8. Alright. Produce here, finally. Haribol. Wow, lots of comments. Oh, Dandavat Pranams, Janardhan Prabhu. And Ganga Didi. I already said Dandavat Pranams to Ganga Didi, I think, right? No. Dandavat Pranams, Haribol. Alright. Rup Manjari, no, I didn't see Panchatattva and Laguna. No. Okay. Chapter 15, Instructions for Civilized Human Beings. The summary of the 15th chapter is as follows. In the previous chapter, Sri Narad Muni proved the importance of the Brahman in society. Now, he will show the differences between Brahmins. Among the Brahmins, some are householders and are mostly attached to the fruitive activities or the betterment of social conditions. Above them, however, are Brahmins who are very much attracted by austerities and penances, and who retire from family life. They are known as other Brahmins are much interested in studying the Vedas and explaining the purport of the Vedas to others. Such Brahmins are called brahmacharis. And still, other Brahmins are interested in different types of yoga, especially Bhakti Yoga and Jnana Yoga. Such Brahmins are mostly sannyasis, members of the renounced order of life. As far as householders are concerned, they engage in different types of scriptural activities, especially in offering to their forefathers and giving as charity to other paraphernalia engaged in such sacrifices. The charity is given to sannyasis, Generally, the charity is given to sannyasis, Brahmins in the renounced order of life. If such a sannyasi is not available, charity is given to Brahmin householders engaged in fruitive activities. One should not make very elaborate arrangements to perform the Shad ceremony of oblations to one's forefathers. The best process for the Shad is to distribute Bhagavat Prasad, remnants of food that has been first Kṛṣṇa, to all of one's forefathers and relatives. This makes first-class Shad ceremony. In the Shad ceremony, there is no need to offer meat or eat meat. Unnecessary killing of animals must be avoided. Those who are in the lower grades of society prefer to perform sacrifices by killing animals, but one who is advanced in knowledge must avoid such unnecessary violence. Brahmins should execute their regulative duties in worshipping Lord Vishnu. Those who are advanced in knowledge of religious principles must avoid 5 kinds of irreligion, known as Vidharma, Paradharma, Dharmabhas, Upadharma, and Chaladharma. One must act according to the religious principles that suit his constitutional position. It is not that everyone must adhere to the same type of religion. A general principle is that a poor man should not unnecessarily endeavor for economic development. One who refrains from such endeavors but who engages in devotional service is most auspicious. One who is not satisfied with the mind must fall to one must conquer lusty desires, anger, greed, fear, lamentation, illusion, fright, unnecessary talks on mundane subjects, violence, the 4 miseries of material existence, and the 3 material qualities. That is the objective of human life. One who has no faith in the spiritual master, who is identical with Shri Kṛṣṇa, cannot get any benefit from reading Shastra. This is really important. Wow. This is very relevant now also. One who has no faith in the spiritual master, who is identical with Shri Kṛṣṇa, cannot get any benefit Shastra. One should never consider the spiritual master an ordinary human being, even though the members of the spiritual master's family may think of him as such. One second, I just want to copy that. Okay. Meditation and other processes of austerity are useful only if they help in advancement toward Krishna consciousness. Otherwise, they are simply a waste of time and labor. Who are not devotees, such meditation and austerity cause fall down. Every householder should be very careful, because even though a householder may try to conquer the senses, he becomes victim to the association of relatives and falls. Thus, a grahastha must become a vanaprastha or sannyasi, live in a secluded place, and be satisfied with food gotten by begging from door to door. He must chant the Omkar mantra or Hare Krishna mantra, and in this way, he will perceive transcendental bliss within himself. After taking sannyas, however, if one returns to grahastha life, he is called vantashi, which means one who eats his own vomit. Such a person is shameless. A householder should not give up the ritualistic ceremonies, and a sannyasi should not live in society. If a sannyasi is agitated by the senses, he is a cheater influenced by the modes of passion and ignorance. When one assumes a role in goodness by starting philanthropic and altruistic activities, such activities become impediments on the path of devotional service. The best process for advancing in devotional service is to abide by the orders of the spiritual master, for only by his direction can one conquer the senses. Unless one is completely Krishna conscious, ritualistic ceremonies and other fruitive activities every moment. Fruit activities have been divided in 12 portions. Because of performing fruitive activities, which are called the path of, one has to accept the cycle of birth and death. But when one takes to the path of moksha, or liberation, which is described in Bhagavad Gita as Archana Marg, one can get relief from the cycle of birth and death. Describe these two paths as Pitriyana and Devayana. Those who follow the paths of Pitriyana and Devayana are never even while in the material body. A monistic philosopher who gradually develops control of the senses understands that the objective of all the different ashrams he can receive the causeless mercy of Kṛṣṇa. The objective of a devotional consciousness by the mercy of devotees, or one may fall down from spiritual consciousness, being disrespectful to devotees. And this not as he had fallen from the Gandharva kingdom, how he was born in a Shudra family, and how, by serving exalted Brahmins, he became son of Lord Brahma and was reinstated in his transcendental position. After narrating all these stories, Narad Muni praised the mercy of Yudhishthira, after hearing from Narad, became ecstatic and loved, and then Narad Muni left that place and returned to his own place. Thus, Shukadeva Goswami, having described various descendants of the daughters of Daksha, is the 7th canto of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Wow, that was a very long introduction. Alright, so we're reading the first 8 verses here. What time is it? 6:10, we have 20 more minutes. Right. Shri Narad Uvasha Karmanishta Dvija Chit Taponishta Nripa Pare Swadhaye Nye Pravarchane Kechana Jnana Yogayo. Narad Muni continued, My dear king, some Brahmins are very much attached to fruitive activities. Some are attached to austerities and penances, and still others study the Vedic literature, whereas some, although very, very few, cultivate knowledge and practice different yogas, especially bhakti yoga. Jnana-nishtaya deyani kavyanyanam dama ichchata Vichar tar abhave syad itarebhyo yatarhata. A person desiring liberation for his forefathers or himself should give charity to a Brahmin who adheres to impersonal monism, Jnana Nishta. In the absence of such an advanced Brahmin, charity may be given to a Brahmin addicted to fruitive activities, Karma Kanda. Purport. There are 2 processes by which to get free from material bondage. One involves Jnana Kanda and Karma Kanda, and the other involves Upasana Kanda. So one is Jnana Kanda and Karma Kanda, and the other is Upasana Kanda. Vaishnavas never want to merge into the existence of the Supreme. Rather, they want to be everlastingly servants of the Lord to render loving service unto Him. In this verse, the words anantyam ichata refer to persons who desire to achieve liberation from material bondage and merge into the existence of the Lord. Devotees, however, whose objective is to associate personally with the Lord, have no desire to accept the activities of karma kanda or gyan kanda. For pure devotional service is above both karma kanda and gyan kanda. Anya vilashita shunyam jnana karma dhanavritam. In pure devotional service, there is not even a pinch of gyan or karma. Consequently, when Vaishnavas distribute, they do not need to find a Brahman performing the activities of Gyan Kanda or Karma Kanda. The best example in this regard is provided by Advaita Goswami, who, after performing the Shad ceremony of his father, offered charity to Hari Thakur, although it was known to everyone that Hari was born in a Mohammedan family, not a Brahmin family, and was not interested in the activities of Gyan Kanda or Karma Kanda. Charity, therefore, should be given to transcendentalists, devotee, because Shastras recommend Muktanam Apisiddhanam Narayana Parayana Sudurlabha Prashantat Mautishvapi Mahamune. O great sage, among many millions who are liberated, one may be a devotee of Lord Narayan or Kṛṣṇa. Such devotees who are fully peaceful are extremely rare. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 14.5. A Vaishnava is in a higher position than a Jnani, and therefore Advaita Acharya selected Haridas Thakur to be the first person to accept his charity. The Supreme Lord also Name Bhaktas Chaturvedi Makta Swapachapriya Tasmai Deyam Vito Grahyam Even though a person is a very learned scholar of Vedic literatures, he is not accepted unless he is in pure devotional service. However, even though a person is born in a family of dog eaters, he is very much dear to me if he is a pure devotee who has no motive to enjoy fruitive activity or mental speculation. Indeed, all respect should be given to him, and whatever he offers should also be accepted. Sorry guys, I'm starting to get a little sleepy. I don't know why. Such devotees are as worshipful as I am. That's from Hari Bhakti Vilas 10.127. Therefore, even if not born in a Brahmin family, a devotee, because of his devotion to the Lord, is above all kinds of Brahmins, whether they be karma kandis or gyan kandis. In this regard, it may be mentioned that the Brahmins in Vrindavan, who are karma kandis and gyan kandis, sometimes decline to accept invitations to our temple, because our temple is known as Angreji temple. Or, how do you say that word? Anglican? No, this is an English word. Anglican? Anglican. Anglican, sorry. So this temple is known as Angreji temple, or right? Anglican temple. But in accordance with the evidence given in the Shastra and the example set by Advaita Acharya, we give prasad to devotees regardless of whether they came from India, Europe, or America. It is the conclusion of the Shastra that instead of feeding many Gyan Kandi or Karma Kandi Brahmins, it is better to feed a pure Vaishnava, regardless of where he comes from. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9.30. Api chet sudra charo bhajate mam ananyapa sadureva samantavya sito hisa. Even if the most abominable actions, if he is engaged, he is to be considered because he is properly treated. Thus it doesn't matter whether a devotee comes from a Brahmin family or non-Brahmin family. If he is fully devoted to Kṛṣṇa, he is a sadhu. Devo Pitri Karitrin Toive Ekaikam Ubayatrava Ojayetsu Smritopi Shradhe Koryanyaram. During the period for offering oblations to the demigods, one should invite only 2 brāhmaṇas. While offering oblations to the forefathers, one may invite 3 brāhmaṇas. Or in either case, only 1 brāhmana will suffice. Even though one is very opulent, he should not endeavor to invite more brāhmanas or make various expensive arrangements on those occasions. That's interesting. Purport. We already mentioned Srila Acharya, during the generally observed ceremony to offer oblations to the forefathers, invited only Haridas Thakur. Thus, he followed this principle: Name Bhaktas Chaturvedi Mar Bhakta Shrapacha Priya. The Lord says, "It is not necessary that one become very expert in Vedic knowledge before he can become my bhakta, or devotee. Even if one is born in a family of dog eaters, he can become my devotee and be very dear to me, in spite of having taken birth in such a family. Therefore, offering should be given to my devotees, and whatever my devotee has offered me should be accepted." Following this principle, one should invite a first-class Brahman or Vaishnava, a realized soul, and feed him while observing the Shraddha ceremony to offer oblations to one's own forefathers. I just kind of nodded out there. Okay. Desha kalo chita shraddha dravya patrarhanani cha samyak bhavanti naitani vistarat svajanarpanat. If one arranges to feed many Brahmins or relatives during the Shraddha ceremony, there will be discrepancies in the time, place, respectability, and ingredients, the person to be worshipped, and the method of offering worship. Purport. Narad Muni has prohibited unnecessarily gorgeous arrangements to feed relatives or Brahmins during the Shraddha ceremony. Those who are materially opulent spend lavishly during the ceremony. Indians spend especially lavishly on 3 occasions: the birth of a child, at marriage, and while observing the Shraddha ceremony. But the Shastras prohibit the excessive expenditures involved in inviting many Brahmins and relatives, especially during the Shraddha ceremony. 10 more minutes. Deshe kale cha samprapte munyanam haridaivatam shraddhaya vidivat patre nyastam kamatugakshayam. When one gets the opportunity of a suitable, auspicious time and place, one should offer food prepared with ghee to the deity of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and then offer the prasad to a suitable person, a Vaishnava, or this will be the cause of everlasting prosperity. Devarshitri bhutevya atmane svajanaya Sri Bhajam Nashyat Sarvat Purukam. One should offer prasad to the demigods, saintly persons, one's forefathers, the people in general, one's family members, one's relatives, and one's friends, seeking them all as devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Seeing them. Did I say seeking them? I meant to say seeing them all as devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Perfect. As mentioned above, it is recommended that everyone distribute prasad, considering every living being a part of the Supreme Lord. Even in feeding the poor, one should distribute prasad. In Kali Yuga, there is a scarcity of food almost every year, and thus philanthropists spend lavishly to feed the poor. For this, they invent the term Daridra Narayan Seva. This is prohibited. One should distribute some prasad, considering everyone a part of the Supreme Lord. But one should not juggle the words to make a poor man Narayan. Everyone is related to the Supreme Lord, but one should not mistakenly think that because one is related to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he has become the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan. Such a Mayavad philosophy is extremely dangerous, especially for a devotee. Sri Chaitanya therefore strictly forbidden us to associate with Mayavadi philosophers. Mayavadi Bhashya Shunile Hoy Sarvatrikana Acharya Dharmatvavit Munyamritaya Satpara Praktir Etana Bashu Hinsaya. A person fully aware of religious principles should never offer anything like meat, eggs, or fish in the Shraddha ceremony. And even if one is a Kshatriya, he himself should not eat such things. When suitable food prepared with ghee is offered to saintly persons, the function is pleasing to the forefathers and the Supreme Person and the Supreme Lord, who are never pleased when animals are killed in the name of sacrifice. Okay, we're ending with this verse. Naitadrisha paro dharma nrenam sadharma michatam nyasa dandasya bhuteshu manovak kaya jasya. Persons who want to advance in knowledge are advised to give up all envy in other living entities, whether in relationship to the body, words, or mind. There is no religion superior to this. Alright. Oh, Kishori Mohan who's there. Haribo. Dandava Pranams, Kishori Mohan Prabhu. Broke up. Anyhow. Pure Ki Jai. Alright. I don't know how long I left for. Yes, Kishori Mohan Prabhu, I'm in a car doing this right now. We were just with Ujjwala and Suresh Prabhu. We're in Los Angeles right now. Alright. So tomorrow we're going to finish up this section. Let's see. I was actually kind of falling asleep during this reading just now. But I think I kind of kept it going. But alright, so we read up to 8. Tomorrow we will finish this section, giving up sacrifices. So, giving up violence and envy towards all beings by mind, words, and body is the highest dharma for those who desire to advance in superior religion. And then tomorrow we will finish up the section, which is persons advanced in knowledge know well about sacrifice and are free from material desires. They control the self. They are illuminated by spiritual knowledge and give up sacrifices that result in reactions. The animals become afraid seeing the person doing sacrifice. They think, this merciless performer of sacrifices, being ignorant of the purpose of sacrifice and being most satisfied by killing others, will surely kill us. One who is actually aware of Dharma and is not cruel should do his daily and occasional duties with whatever food is available easily by the grace of the Lord. And then we'll read about avoiding irreligion and cultivating satisfaction. Right, so Vidharma, Paradharma, Abhas-dharma, Upadharma, Chala-dharma. And then self-satisfaction versus greed. Self-satisfied people are most happy. The self-satisfied person, sense gratifier, insatiable greed. Anyways, we're going to read all about all this tomorrow in spiritual greed. Alright. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Nitai Gaur Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Gaur Hari Bol. Oh, Hari Bol. Ujjwala Mata. Yes, it was so nice to see you again. Hope to see you again when I come back down from Badger before I go to India. Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Shri Shri Guru Gauranga Gandhar Giri Dhari, Shri Shri Radha Vinod Bihari Ju Ki Jai, Shri Govinda Gopinath Madan Mohan Ju Ki Jai, Nitil Vishtam Vishnupad, Ashtara Shatashmat, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj, Srila Gurudev Ki Jai, Nitil Vishtam Vishnupad, Ashtara Shatashmat, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitil Vishtam Vishnupad, Ashtara Shatashmat, Srila Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad, Ashtara Shatashmat, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitil Pravishtam Vishnupad, Ashtara Shatashmat, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nitil Pravishtam Mahabhagavat Srila Gokisharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Nitil Pravishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Thakur Ki Jai, Nitil Pravishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai, Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath Shri Jeev Gopal Patadash Raghunath Sharad Gosai Prabhu Ki Jai, Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda Ki Jai, Nama Chai Shri Hairas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Shri Kshetra Mandal Gaur Mandal Vraja Mandal Mathura Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Sarva Avishya Bharati Giriraj Maharaj Ki Jai, Shri Radha Kund Shama Kund Ki Jai, Shri Mana Devi Ganga Devi Ki Jai, Shri Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi Ki Jai, Shri Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Shri Purnamasi Yoga Maya Ki Jai, Shri Gopeshwar Mahadev Ki Jai, Shri Harinam Sankirtan Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda, Samagata Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai, Grantaraj Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam Ki Jai, Shri Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bo, Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavascha Kṛṣṇa Bhakti Padadevi Sattvatai Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyaya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams everybody. See you all tomorrow. I think, let's see, I made the schedule actually, let's see. How many more days until we're finished with the 7th canto? I just prepared it at Ujjwala Mata's and Suresh Prabhu's place. Okay, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4 more days, and then we're finished with the 7th canto. Yeah, this last chapter is really long. Alright, see you tomorrow. Jai Shri Radhe. Hari Bol. Hari Bol. And Prajumna Prabhu, I don't know about any translations of the Sundar to get them. I don't know. Yeah, sorry. Maybe there aren't any other ones in English yet. I don't know. Radhe Radhe Kishori Mohan Prabhu.